real. It's not a theory. It is real. These vaccines cause very real side effects, and they're in 4 major categories. One is cardiovascular and heart inflammation, myocarditis, cardiac arrest. Number 2 is neurologic, all forms of stroke, Guillain-Barré syndrome, neuropathy. Number 3, blood clotting like we've never seen in medicine before. Blood clots that don't respond to typical blood thinners that are just a disaster. And number 4, immune system abnormalities. We have 3,400 peer-reviewed papers describing fatal and non-fatal vaccine injury syndromes in the National Library of Medicine.
An inhaled blocker. We also need to fix the 3 problems with vaccines. The current vaccines are not infection blocking. They're not broad, so when new variants come up, you lose protection. And they have very short duration, particularly in the people who matter, which are old people. And every one of those things is fixable. In fact, doing that work is going to help vaccinology very, very broadly.
That was Microsoft billionaire and philanthropist Bill Gates speaking on the coronavirus mRNA vaccines at a Lowry Institute event in Australia. Is that what people are talking about as Bill Gates kind of being open about the lower efficacy of the mRNA vaccine.
Yeah, I mean, he really nails it on the issues that we're having with them, which is the short duration of protection, not a significant discernible impact on transmission of cases, and et cetera. Not a massive benefit for a lot of otherwise healthy and younger people. Bill Gates was a major, I think it's fair to say, major proponent of mRNA vaccine technology. He was an investor in BioNTech, which developed the mRNA vaccine for Pfizer. We were just doing some digging, and we see that he actually sold a lot of those shares at how much profit was that?
10x. So he invested $55 million in BioNTech back in 2019, and it's now worth north of $550 million. He sold some stock. What was it in at the end of last year, I believe it was, with the share price over $300 a share, which represented a huge gain for him over when he invested. So yeah, he certainly has profited a great deal. So let's follow
that trajectory. Invests heavily in BioNTech. mRNA vaccines, great. This is the future. This is, he talked about the vaccine timeline and how, we could develop it faster. We might have to cut some corners on safety, but it could be developed faster. All in, sells it, makes a huge amount of money. Now it's like,
Fauci says COVID-19 and influenza vaccines don't work well, calls for improved shots. Dr. Anthony Fauci is among the growing number of officials who are acknowledging that the COVID-19 vaccines don't work well against infection. Vaccines against both COVID-19 and influenza have deficiencies, including that they elicit incomplete and short-lived protection against evolving virus variants that escape population immunity, Fauci, until recently President Joe Biden's chief medical advisor, and top National Institutes of Health officials wrote in a recent paper. The flu vaccines are suboptimal and have not improved in decades, the officials said. As newer strains of the COVID-19 virus have emerged, the problems with the COVID-19 vaccines have become apparent and are reminiscent of the flu shots, they said. Before acknowledging that none of the predominantly mucosal respiratory viruses, such as COVID-19, have ever been effectively controlled by vaccines.